You know, the story of modern India is just filled with these incredible tales, but there's one that really captures the power of a dream unlike any other. It's the story of a young boy from a tiny island town who looked up at the birds and dared to dream of the sky. So let's dive into the amazing journey of APJ Abdul Kalam.
Just try to picture this. You're growing up on Mosque Street in Rameshwaram. Life seems pretty simple, right? You're surrounded by the sights and the sounds of the sea. But for a young Abdul Kalam, his mind was anything but simple. He just watched the birds soaring over the waves, and this deep, deep curiosity took hold. He just had to understand how they could fly.
And you know, he actually put this burning ambition into his own poetry. These lines, they're not just words on a page, are they? They're really the essence of his whole life's philosophy. This was basically his mission statement, from a boy who just refused to be grounded by his circumstances.
So, you gotta ask, right? How does a kid's fascination with birds turn into a lifelong quest for the stars? Well, it all kicked off with this insatiable curiosity that really laid the foundation for everything that was going to come next. And these weren't just, random passing thoughts. Kalam's mind was literally a storm of questions, all the time. He'd pester his elders, and if their answers weren't enough, you bet he was hitting the few books he could get his hands on. This relentless questioning became the engine that drove his incredible mind. But here's the thing, Kalam didn't do this alone. No way. His journey was guided by some amazing teachers who saw that special spark in him and knew exactly how to fan it into a flame.
Okay, so get this. One day in the classroom, something happened that changed everything. His teacher, Siva Subramania Iyer, was trying to explain how birds fly, but the diagrams on the blackboard, they just weren't cutting it. The lesson wasn't clicking, So he did something totally unforgettable.
Iyer literally takes the whole class down to the beach. And right there, as they watched the gulls gliding and diving, he explained it all in real time. How the wings create lift, how the tail acts like a rudder. For Kalam, this wasn't just another lesson. It was an epiphany. A total light bulb moment. Right there, watching those birds, he knew his life's mission was going to be the science of flight.
All right, so this passion for flight, it was about to get a major reality check. As Kalam started his career, one of his most important lessons didn't come from some huge success. Nope, it came from a massive, spectacular failure. So in '72, Kalam gets this huge job. He's made project director for India's very first satellite launch vehicle, the SLV-3. The pressure was just immense. After years and years of hard work, the first launch in 1979 was a complete disaster. The rocket just tumbled out of control and crashed right into the sea. And the whole nation's hopes kind of crashed right along with it.
But what happened next? Wow, it was a total masterclass in leadership. After the failure, the chairman, Professor Satish Dhawan, he goes out and faces the press, and he takes all the blame, saying it's my fault, protecting his totally devastated team. Then, a year later, the second launch is a historic success. And what does Dhawan do? He pushes a nervous Kalam out in front of the cameras to take the credit. The lesson couldn't be clearer. A great leader takes the blame for failure, but gives the credit for success to their team. That lesson stuck with Kalam for the rest of his life.
So, armed with this really powerful experience, Kalam's path took another turn. He was asked to lead India's Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, a supercritical mission for the nation's security. And you really have to appreciate the spirit of that time. I mean, just think about it. They went from literally carrying rocket parts on the back of a bicycle to launching this massive, towering satellite vehicle. It's just an incredible story of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and just plain old grit.
Around this time, he actually met the legend himself, Wernher von Braun, who told him something that really resonated. For Kalam, this was it. This wasn't just a job, it was a mission, it was a calling. And that philosophy absolutely fueled him as he led the development of the Agni missile, a project that was going to test his team to the absolute limit.
Here's a great little story that tells you everything you need to know about the man. After the Agni missile launch was a huge success, the defense minister asked him, "Kalam, what do you want as a reward?" Anything. And what does he ask for? Not a bonus, not a promotion. He simply asks for 100,000 saplings to be planted at the research center. It's a small thing, but it says so much, right? Here's a man always thinking about the future, about growth, about making things better. So he's known as the Missile Man of India, right? Well, his journey was about to take the most unexpected turn of all. In 2002, he was asked to become the 11th president of India. And let me tell you, he was about to completely redefine that role.
In his letter accepting the nomination, he pretty much said it all.
He didn't see his story as just his own personal achievement. He saw it as proof of the nation's democratic spirit. For him, this wasn't about getting a fancy title. It was about embracing a brand new mission. And he absolutely lived up to that vision. He basically threw the doors of the Grand Presidential Palace wide open. He used technology to connect with everyday people. He was constantly meeting with students, artists, farmers, innovators. He turned the highest office in the country into this amazing hub for dialogue and inspiration, always pushing his vision for a developed India. So when you step back and you look at this whole incredible life, what's the big takeaway? What's his lasting legacy? It's really not just about the rockets or the titles, is it? At its core, it's a legacy of courage. I mean, the second his presidency was over, did he retire to a quiet life? Nope. He went straight back to his first love, teaching. He spent his final years crisscrossing the country, interacting with millions of young people. He saw them as the keepers of the future, the ones who would carry those wings of fire forward. This really gets to the heart of his message. It was a call to action, a rallying cry for every young person out there. Be brave, be curious, don't be afraid to challenge how things are done. Go out and build a better world. This was his final, and maybe his most powerful mission. You know, Kalam's life shows us that we're all born with wings. Wings of potential, of goodness, of our own dreams. He found his wings in science, leadership, and service. And that leaves all of us with a simple but pretty profound question to think about. What wing will you use to fly?